Pristina, Kosovo, where two opposing parties are both celebrating on election night. Down at this end of the pedestrian street, the Festivities party is wrapping up its celebrations, and you can see them starting to depart. Over at the other end of the pedestrian street, and we might make our way over there if you can hear me. Over at the other end is the PDK, the Democratic Party of Kosovo. Here's a glance at the Festivities crowd just as it's starting to clear out. It's a very sizable crowd, very raucous crowd, comprised mostly of young people who are very passionate about their party and their movement. You might notice some red in the Festivities crowd here. At the Festivities celebration, the only flags you could see were Albanian flags. There's an Albanian flag walking by. As I mentioned earlier today, or rather yesterday, the Festivities movement is basically an Albanian nationalist movement. It's left-leaning, left of center politically, and there's definitely some reason to speculate about whether in the coming years Kosovo might be having a referendum on uniting with Albania. That has been in the party platform, and as you see, there's another Albanian flag. As you see Festivities people coming out of here, you can see that it's comprised, their supporters are comprised largely of young people. They have the youth vote, and today, or rather yesterday in the election, it appears they came in second place. The results have been taking hours in order to trickle in. PDK, as expected by many, is in first with somewhere around 33% of the vote according to the latest tally. But Festivities about doubled its vote total from the last election, and Festivities got somewhere around 26%, maybe 27%, according to the most recent figures I saw. And whereas PDK ran as part of a coalition, Festivities ran individually. So possibly Festivities was actually the single most popular party in the election today, or as I mentioned, yesterday. It's going to be a mystery as to what happens here in terms of forming a government and forming a coalition. Perchance, PDK and the man they have nominated to head the next Kosovo government, the man pictured over here, Ramush Haradinaj, perhaps they will not succeed in forming a government. It's going to be very tough for them to form a coalition, and we shall see if that ends up giving Festivities an opportunity or a chance or a crack at forming a government and actually becoming the ruling party here in Kosovo. That would be a dramatic turn of events if it would occur, and I don't know what the chances are of it happening. It's really a mystery of what happens in the coalition talks in the coming days, weeks, and possibly months. But you can see that there's certainly some nationalist sentiments on the rise here in Kosovo, and whereas across Europe this year it seems like populist movements and nationalist movements have been taking a bit of a breather, it seems like it's the opposite here in Kosovo. We're down at the other end of the street, which we're going to start heading down there now. The PDK is celebrating down there, and they're known as a rather nationalist party, albeit politically they're much different, both on the left-right spectrum as well as in terms of establishment, anti-establishment. PDK is far more establishment here in Kosovo, and Veteran Dose is kind of the new guys on the block, or the upstart child. PDK, as I mentioned before, has entrenched leadership that's made up of former KLA leaders like Haradinaj. He was a KLA leader, like we mentioned earlier, that he was twice acquitted of war crimes charges and was actually arrested again earlier this year in France. So if he indeed becomes prime minister, that'll be quite an interesting story, how he was gone from being in custody in France at the beginning of the year to possibly heading a European government later in the year. We'll now start marching down Mother Teresa Boulevard, this pedestrian street here in the heart of Kosovo, which, as you can see, it's well after midnight, but the crowds are still out here. Lots of young people, lots of noise, lots of excitement. The rally that was happening here, the Veteran Dose rally, was extremely spirited, but down at the other end, the PDK celebration is more flashy and louder. They've got a lot of music being pumped in, and you should probably be able to get a crack at that, or get a listen at that shortly. As I was mentioning before, according to the latest figures I've seen, which are somewhere around 90% of the votes counted, albeit the state election board or agency hasn't come out and said anything as far as to my knowledge yet, but PDK was around 33% of the vote, and remember, they're running as a coalition, not an individual party. Veteran Dose was around 26 or 27%, a huge jump for them. And LDK, or the coalition led by LDK, which is the former ruling party here, which has been losing momentum, was in a close third, somewhere around 25%, I guess within striking distance of Veteran Dose, but it didn't appear that Veteran Dose was going to slip out of second place. It's got a bit of a party atmosphere here in Pristina after midnight. On a slight tangent, this reminds me a little bit of 6 months ago, I believe 6 months to the day, in Skopje, Macedonia, which is just 2 hours south of here, where on election night, opposing sides were celebrating. It was basically too close to call. They both declared themselves winners. And then that electoral issue wasn't resolved until about a week and a half ago, when the previous opposition party, the Social Democrats down in Macedonia, formed a coalition with a couple ethnic Albanian parties. We'll see if there's something similar that could play out here, both in terms of there being a long drawn-out process following the election at forming a government, or if it's in the case of what happened in Macedonia, the opposition party, which did not finish first in the election, ended up becoming the ruling party. We'll see. Could Vervindose pull off a similar feat here? Now let's head toward the PDK celebration. It's going to get noisier. They've now gotten to the speech. Sounds like they're done with the music and the dancing, or at least they've put that on pause. PDK celebrators have been pretty wild. They've been driving around cars. There's a tractor on the pedestrian street honking their horns, doing donuts. There you go. Much awaited fireworks. Anyway, the fireworks are over, and as PDK wraps up its celebration, I'm gonna say that from my vantage point, there's some reason to believe that Kosovo is going to be taking on the role of the stubborn child of the West. So, for years, Kosovo has essentially taken orders from Washington, Brussels, mostly Brussels, as of late, but it just doesn't seem like there's much more of an appetite for that, especially among the youth and especially among the Vervindose supporters, and they certainly don't seem to be in the mood for taking any orders from Brussels as it relates to Kosovo's relations with their neighbors, particularly Serbia, but also the Montenegro issue is a big deal. Kosovo is the only country or state or whatever you want to call it in the Balkans that still does not have visa-free access to Europe's Schengen area, and in order to get that, they're supposed to reach this border deal with Montenegro, but there just does not seem to be there just doesn't seem to be much more of an appetite for doing things in order to satisfy the EU here, at least among a large portion of the electorate and definitely the young people. And there does seem to be an increasing interest in pursuing closer ties and possibly a union with Albania. I really have no idea how that might play out, how serious people and parties and politicians are about pursuing that, but there certainly could be troubles heating up here again in the near future. It's obviously always a testy spot, but looking forward, having seen what I've seen during this election and in recent times here, problems lie ahead for Brussels, for the European Union, for the West, for the Balkans, and how they're going to handle what is a tricky situation in Kosovo. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So with that, I'm going to wrap up my election night coverage. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the fireworks show. That made July 4th in the United States, that made July 4th look like child's play. It's a pretty impressive fireworks display here in Pristina. Alright, monetarily, thank you for tuning in. If you like this video, please like it and share it and subscribe to the channel. And goodbye from Pristina, Kosovo.